Before I ask Rujen a last question, I'd like to ask you if you plan to participate in the discussion that I'll be opening up afterwards, maybe to already move towards the 2 microphones that we have here in the room so we can save some time and make this as productive as possible. Rujen, you have said an interesting thing. You have asked, will the alternative to the AKP come from within the AKP or not? And Levent has mirrored that to a certain degree when he spoke about the limits of the AKP model, if I'm really interpreting what he has said. So the AKP was an interesting, or is an interesting organization. In the early days, it was a broad coalition, and it still is to a certain degree, from conservatives to business people, Gulen-affiliated groups, and progressives and liberals and intellectuals that were just not happy about the situation in Turkey. So do you think this coalition is going to hold strong? Are we going to see changes within the party that will threaten this coalition, or what is your assessment right now?
At the first years of the party, that was a real coalition, and in one hand, the coalition of different sectors of the society, but also the coalition of different political persons, right, like Abdullah Gül, Bülent Arınç, Tayyip Erdoğan, of course, Hüseyin Çelik. Most of them were coming from Islamist movement, but some of them, for example, Ambassador Yaşar Yakış, and secular-minded ambassador who is one of the founders of the AK Party and first Minister of Foreign Affairs. So that it was a coalition, and it was a coalition of different sectors of the society and different political personalities. But after 2007, mainly, when Abdullah Gül became the president, and one of the third biggest founder of the party, fourth biggest founder of the party, Abdüllatif Şener, left the party for a new party, and he was unsuccessful. So that Tayyip Erdoğan dominated the party, and this party became, since then, a party of Tayyip Erdoğan. Now, instead of looking for the coalition within the party, we should mainly look at the performance of Tayyip Erdoğan, leadership of Tayyip Erdoğan, and the future of Tayyip Erdoğan. In my presentation, when I asked this relationship between Abdullah Gül and Tayyip Erdoğan, maybe this time again, Abdullah Gül might be a second time and dominant figure in the political sphere of Turkey. But without Abdullah Gül, I can't say that. We might underestimate the nature of the coalition within the party, but we should focus on this intention and engagement and saying of Tayyip Erdoğan.
Thank you very much. So I'll take 2 questions at a time from the respective wings of the room. I'd ask you to do 3 things. A, please briefly introduce yourself so we know who is speaking. Secondly, be brief. And thirdly, direct your question or your comment to one person on the panel. You can't direct questions to all 3 of them, because then we'll be running out of time quickly. We'll start with the lady over here.
Thank you. Carol Migdalovitz. Rushan, would you talk a little bit about the role of the Constitutional Commission and whether you expect the document to emerge from that body? And secondly, would you talk a little bit about the possible influence of the Fethullah Gulen movement on the choice of president and, in general, its role in politics today? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the second question, the gentleman over here, please.
Mike Massetic with the PBS Online NewsHour. I guess this is for the professor. I think sitting here in the United States, we have to be very cautious about recommending European models of devolution and federalism to the Turks. I'm just back from Edinburgh. The Scottish Nationalist Party is riding higher than ever, and they're confronting in a year or 2 a referendum on total independence for Scotland. And as far as the Spanish model is, the more this mess in Madrid deepens, you can just be sure that the demands for Catalan and other regional independence are going to be higher, not less. So maybe you gentlemen can talk a little bit about what kind of an inherent Turkish model is there rather than trying to look for foreign models to clearly what is a very tricky problem?
Thank you very much. 2 questions. Professor Gander, would you like to start?
Okay, I did not offer France and Britain as models for Turkey. I suggested in very general terms that France and Britain have decentralized in order to have a more effective political system. That's all I said. Turkey will find its own model. Indeed, I suggested that given Turkey's heritage, this model would be a lot less decentralization than what we have seen with Scotland and with France. As far as the SNP, the Scottish Nationalists, winning independence, I doubt it. I seriously doubt it from what I've been told. But what are you going to do if somebody really wants to become independent? Does that mean we have to have the military killing people there forever to keep them from becoming independent? Who knows what the future will hold? But I suspect that if we have a more democratic situation in Turkey, most Turkish citizens, including ethnic Kurds, would be pleased to live in a Turkey that is largely following traditional Turkish models. But I think everyone in Turkey realizes we need some decentralization in our modern world.
Thank you very much. Levin Köker, please.
Well, the Constitutional Commission, Reconciliation Commission or Committee in the Turkish Grand National Assembly has started writing, actually, a draft constitution. They wrote 2 articles, I think. They began with formulating human dignity, and that will probably be another unchangeable article like the German one, so they are probably inspired by the German constitution. But when the 3rd article they started writing, this 3rd article on equality, the BDP wanted to incorporate in the wording of that article the specific rights of lesbian, gay, transsexual, LGBT demands, to put the phrase sexual orientation as another basis for equality. And now there's a crisis around this terminology, so I don't know what's going on, but still I have the hope. I mean, I gave this example because when it comes to critical issues like language education in Kurdish language as mother tongue, for example, this might be another clash among the members of the Reconciliation Committee, etc. So, but still the process will continue because one of the principles they adopted for themselves in their workings is that to leave the articles that they couldn't establish full agreement to the end. So they will proceed as they agree, and disagreements will be renegotiated later on during the last phase. So this will makes things more, to see things from a more optimistic angle. I leave Gülen movement to Ruşen Çakır.
Yeah, the risky one is for me.
For the European model, Turkish model debate, we only have one model as far as the Turkish state tradition is concerned. If I may speculate, this is the model which dates back to 16th or 13th century Islamic, Turkish, Mongolian, Iranian state philosophy, which is best summarized by the notion circle of justice, which doesn't comply with any principle of rule of law as we know it in contemporary world. So I'll leave that. I have a more principled account of local government because by principled account, I mean I take political morality very seriously, and the reason for organizing politics on certain principled grounds is to achieve legitimacy within a diversity of society. So in this, when we think in this way, it is best to enable people to make decisions for themselves as they face certain problems locally. So if they want to secede, if they want secession, if they want to get separated and establish a new state, why not? I mean, if they are going to happy with their state, it's not end of the world. So, I mean, nation-state perspective to oppress people, to protect nation-states' integrity, etc., this is not a political value I can support. I can only support legitimation by people's own consent. So if their own consent could be delivered only, and if only locally, then they should be enabled to do so.